I've always been fascinated with bats. If you know me personally, this is something that I think I make pretty clear. I think the fact that they're feared by so many people has kind of driven me to overcompensate and just like them that much more. But honestly, I believe that fear comes from a misunderstanding. Yeah, I get that they're little, fuzzy, flying creatures that come out when the sun goes down. But like most animals, they don't want anything to do with us, and honestly probably spend a lot of time doing everything they can to stay away from us. Last summer, I attended a bat roost count here in Prince George, BC. If you're watching the video portion of this podcast, I have a video going on screen right now that I took from that night that shows all the bats leaving the peak of a roof where they were roosting. Myself and a small group of volunteers all sat comfortably in our folding chairs, facing all the possible exits where bats could emerge from this roof. We were given these little clicker counters, and our task was to record and count every bat that we saw come out. If I can recall correctly, I think we recorded over 300 little brown bats that night. I loved seeing others come out and clearly have an interest in these animals that seem to go unloved by so many. And it's thanks to coordinators like today's guest, Tina Waters, that programs like this can even exist. Tina is the Ominica Regional Program Coordinator for the BC Community Bats Program. In today's episode, we talk about the bats here in our backyard, the things that threaten them, and also why they're so important to our ecosystems and why we should care. So without any further delays, let's get right into that conversation. My name is Mike Bryden, and you're listening to Wilder Insights. Stay tuned.
Left alone, all alone, deep beneath the sea. The coral reefs, pretty soon, do you really need? Going high, really far, in a quiet place. Turn your face, understand why you're fake.
My name is Tina Waters. I am currently actually a Master's of Science student at the University of Northern British Columbia. I'm studying bats, their physiology and their behavior in relationship to rising temperatures due to climate change. And I am currently the Ominica Regional Community Bat Coordinator for the Community Bat Program. So basically, I'm the person who coordinates everything up in Prince George and the surrounding area.
Everything bats around here, right?
Yes, yeah,
Right
I
on.
am our bat person.
Well, let's start off there. Why don't you tell me about the BC Community Bat Program and what they do?
Yeah, so the British Columbia Community Bat Program is an NGO, so a non-government organization and a nonprofit. So basically that means that we are applying for grants every year and we're relying on that money. So things change from year to year depending on how much we can do. There's a few big things that we do. We raise awareness on bat conservation issues. We help manage bats in buildings. We collect data that is needed to monitor and understand bats. And then we provide the community a lot of resources. So for example, on how to live with bats, if there's bats in your buildings, how to report dead bats. So if you find a dead bat in your house or maybe your dog or cat brings one in, how to get involved with bat conservation in the community and in British Columbia. And then we also offer information on bat boxes. And then if people want to get rid of bats in their house, we offer information on how to gently and safely and legally evict a bat from your house.
Right. Well, tell me how you got involved with this program. How long have you been with them?
Basically since I've started doing bats. So right out of my undergrad, I got a job down in Creston, BC in the Kootenays. So I started volunteering with the community bat program down there. And throughout a bunch of the work I was doing, I was working with different community bat programs. So I coordinated with the Lillooet region as well when I was doing some research there. And then I reached out to the Caribou Regional Coordinator when I decided that I was moving up here. And so I reached out to a bunch of people, and then this job became available, and they all sent me the job ad. So I had like 4 different regional coordinators send me the job ad. They're like, you should do this.
That's awesome.
So when I applied, I'm like, hey, 4 of your like 12 coordinators are my references. And so it was a pretty good interview. So yeah, and then I've been doing this for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, because I've been my master's for 3 years. So we didn't actually have anybody specifically for this region before me. So our provincial coordinator was actually taking over the region as well. And then the surrounding areas, so the Skeena and the Caribou region, were kind of helping out and answering emails and doing what they could for the Ominica region. But they got some more funding and they could have a regional coordinator. And then I just happened to move up at the exact same time. So I basically started, I don't say from scratch, but pretty much from scratch. So I was given a list of emails of people who have reached out in the last 10 years about bat boxes or bats in the neighborhood. And I went from there, built up, I would say, I think we got about 50 roosts now. We did a
Whoa,
whole
that's
ton
really
of
cool.
counts. Yeah, I was part of probably a few dozen counts last year. So going from very little to what we have now, I'm actually pretty proud of what we've done in the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was
Yeah.
at one of those counts this
Yes,
past
yeah, I
summer.
know. I was like, ooh, Mike likes the bats.
You would say bat researchers, that's a pretty niche community in wildlife research, right?
Yes.
Did you always know you wanted to work with bats?
No, I was definitely somebody who had no idea what they wanted to do with their life. I tell a lot of people this. Everybody tells you you know what you want to do, or you have to know what you want to do when you graduate high school. They're like 18, pick a career.
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I thought I was like, I like chemistry. I wanted to be a pharmacist. I did a year of pre-pharmacy. Decided it wasn't for me. I wasn't also in the right spot of my life to be a student or going to pick my career. I was 18. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Traveled around a bit. Then I actually have my paramedic license in Alberta. So I did that for a few years till I decided, something I wanted to do differently. And I knew I really liked being outside. And I wanted that hands-on. I like hiking. I like canoeing, fishing, hunting, all that stuff growing up. So I started looking into programs and got my bachelor's of ecosystem management down in Lethbridge. And the first job I got was a very broad wildlife job. It was absolutely amazing, an absolutely amazing crew to work with. And they just happened to do bat work at the same time. And the first time I held a bat, I fell in love. Someone said it was love at first bite. And that was so true. They're just small, they're furry, they're cute.
Were
And,
you bit?
oh, yeah.
They just gnawed on your
Oh,
hands?
yeah, they
while
don't.
you go?
I like to tell people it's like if a giant picked you up, would you not try to bite them?
Yeah, exactly.
Like they don't like being
Likely.
held. They don't want to be around people. I get it. They don't usually break the skin just because they're so small. And then as bat researchers, if you are handling bats, we all have our rabies pre-exposure. We all have training on how to handle bats appropriately, gloves, masks, all that good stuff. But yeah, first time I held a bat, that was it. I was hooked.
Right on. Well, let's get into bats in general. What makes bats so unique in BC? What makes them so important to the ecosystem?
Yeah, so bats are important everywhere. We have actually, the most recent count in, I believe, September, we hit 1,500 bat species in the whole world.
Whoa.
So when people say bats, it's like saying birds. Bats are very diverse. So the biggest bat has around a 6-foot wingspan. It's a giant golden crowned flying fox. And then on the other hand, the smallest bat can actually fit on the tip of your thumb. It's around 30 millimeters. And that's
huge
called
difference.
the bumblebee bat. And it's about the size of a large bumblebee. So they're super diverse just in size alone and their diet. We have bats that eat fruit, bats that eat insects, drink nectar, even bats that drink blood. In Canada, we have 18 or so species, and they're all insect-eating species. And in British Columbia, we have about 15 of those 18 species.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a massive amount of biodiversity in British Columbia. We have the highest amount of species biodiversity of bats in Canada. The second highest province is Alberta with 9 species of bats. They're really important to the ecosystem. We have an absolute diverse amount of ecosystems in British Columbia as well. And to me, I think, why not support and protect animals that are in our backyard?
Absolutely. They're part of the system too, right? Like once one piece gets pulled away from it, the chances of collapse, pretty
Yeah,
intense.
a lot more mosquitoes.
Yeah, no one wants that.
No.
And it's my understanding that the difference between that massive 6-foot wingspan flying fox and the bumblebee bat, they're categorized into microbats and is it megabats?
Very broadly speaking,
Yes.
yeah.
There's no perfect line that's drawn between them.
They have reclassified them a few times. The way I think of it easily is your small microbats, they use echolocation. So if you see a picture of one, they have smaller eyes, they have these big ears and these funky looking noses. So those are the bats that are echolocating. So they're looking for their food with their sound waves. So to do that, they need those big ears to be able to hear the echolocation sound waves come back. But they don't really need eyesight as much because they're at night. A big myth, though, is blind as a
Blind
bat.
as a bat, right? Exactly.
Yeah, but bats actually do have pretty good eyesight in comparison to other animals. I don't know about you. I do not have very good eyesight at night. I feel like I'm becoming my mother. I'm very glad things are lit up. And then we have our bigger, say, flying foxes. They have those are the puppy dog looking bats.
With longer snow and massive
the
ears.
bigger noses,
and,
the bigger noses, the big eyes, the little ears.
Oh, little ears. Oh,
Little
that's
ears in
right.
comparison. So they're bigger than a little bat's ears, but yeah, in comparison to their body size, the ears are a bit smaller.
Okay, right.
Because those bats are looking for fruit. So they want to smell and look for the fruit, but they're not hearing the fruit. They're not echolocating to find this fruit. So that's my broad classification of the two different groups of bats.
Right. And we don't have any of the mega bats, let's say, in Canada, do we?
No, those are going to be more in tropical areas where they have food sources all year round, or they have that consistent fruit that they can find.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm sure through your studies and some of the positions you've worked, you've seen a lot of different species in person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite?
It's so hard to say a favorite. I'm doing my research on the Myotis, so I have to say they're my top bat. But the Townsend's big-eared bat is a very close second contender just because they have these big ears. They're so cute. They're very, very distinct. They're very noticeable in all of our bat species in British Columbia. So those are pretty cute.
Right. I don't know if it's cliche of me in the bat community. I really like hoary bats.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if that's just like a really popular one,
Yeah.
but they look like they're dipped in like powdered sugar. Like,
Yeah, the jelly donut
Yeah,
bats.
exactly. Yeah.
They're on my list of bats that I still need to see.
Yeah, I've
from
never
BC.
seen one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have like 4 more bat species I still need to check off my list.
That's awesome.
So bats are really unique, and they're the only mammal capable of true flight, so they don't glide. So bats are part of the order Chiroptera. So chiro, as in say chiropractor, they work with their hands. So chiro means hand, and ptera means wing. So together that means hand wing.
Right.
So bats are basically flying with jazz hands. Super cool, because I can't even imagine trying to fly with my hands, let alone like walk with my legs.
Yeah. So how is that different to like a bird's wing then?
So birds' wings are their whole arm.
Okay.
So I usually end up demonstrating when I'm like, this is a bird
Yeah.
and this is a bat. I look like an idiot, but I'm like, it's very obvious when you see like the two side by side.
Right.
So I think it's really, really cool. And bats are also nocturnal insectivores. The bats we have in Canada are all nocturnal insectivores. So they're eating insects and they're at night. So if you've ever seen swallows in the daytime flying around, catching insects, I like to think that's kind of what bats do at night. And they eat this huge diverse amount of food sources. So say the big brown bat eats beetles, and we have the pallid bat down south that eats scorpions.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So a little brown bat-sized bat, they can eat up to 600 mosquito-sized insects an hour.
Whoa.
So it is a lot of insects. Down in the States, they have an estimated 50 billion USD a year for agricultural pest management. So in Canadian, that's what, $65 billion
Yeah,
a
a lot
year.
of money. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're very important for stuff like that.
So many of our bat species here in Canada are species at risk, correct?
Yes.
Is it all of them?
Not all of them. Some are doing better than others. But yeah, there is quite a few threats hitting bats in Canada and even in British Columbia as well. The biggest ones are wind turbines, the loss or fragmentation of habitat, white nose syndrome, house cats, and people just generally being afraid of them. So I'll go through them one by one.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So wind turbines hit our 3 migratory bats. So these bats they're a little bit bigger. They fly high up in the air and they fly for longer distances. So similar to birds, they use nice wind currents to make things a little bit easier. They fly on nights with a little bit more wind, but they do what they can. And places that have good wind for bats to fly are also places that are good to put wind turbines. So wind turbines end up being in their migratory zone, and they just can't echolocate quick enough. They can't move quick enough. So they either hit them or they get the barotrauma, which is basically a pressure differential between the inside of their bodies and the outside of their bodies, and kind of explode.
Really?
They don't explode, but it's definitely not something, it's definitely inner trauma just from the pressure differential, but they also will hit it. But a good way for wind energy companies to combat this is we call it curtailment. So you can reduce bat fatalities by 80% with only a less than 1% drop in energy loss.
Oh, really? So what does that entail?
So basically, this is slowing down the wind turbine when they're not going to be making a lot of energy and when there's going to be a lot more bats. So this would primarily be during times that wind is lower and during migration periods. So later summer, in the fall, when they're going to be a lot more bats flying during those times.
Okay. So these 3 migratory species we have, they'll migrate for the winter, I assume?
Yes. Yeah. So they also will. So I say bats are basically, they either migrate or they hibernate or they do a little bit of both. So a lot of bats most of our bats hibernate. So they just find a nice, cool place that's nice, consistent, usually caves. We don't really know, actually. One of our many questions about bats in British Columbia and in Canada. But they go find some place to cozy up for the winter, and they just kind of take a nice extended nap. And then we have our 3 bigger migratory bats that just try to go find somewhere a little bit warmer to either migrate to either hibernate or to find more food.
So these hibernating bat species, I wish we had a bat in the studio. There's a fly going around in here. Take it out. These hibernating bat species, the ones that don't migrate, they're the ones being affected by white nose syndrome that you mentioned earlier, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So white nose syndrome is actually caused by the fungus Pseudogenescus destructans. So we call it PD for short because it is a mouthful. So yeah, you were right. It affects bats who are hibernating. So like any funguses, if you think of a mushroom, they like these cool, dark, damp places.
Right.
So where bats like to hibernate tend to be cool, dark, and damp. So these bats end up actually spreading it around to each other just because a lot of bats, when they either are in maternity colonies or when they're hibernating, they're snuggling together, keeping warm, or they're just moving around. They're spreading the spores between each other. And so if you've ever worn a face mask during COVID, and it's like a little bit cooler and you're breathing a lot, it gets a little bit damp in that mask. Or when you're skiing, you get that like kind of gross, wet mask.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why the bats have that white nose, is because it's a lot cooler. They're breathing out the air.
Oh.
So the places where this fungus is going to be, the white fungus, is the places that are a little bit colder.
And where there's the moisture from their breath.
Yeah, or from their body.
Right,
Basically.
okay.
Yeah, so that's why they tend to have that white nose, and then they'll spread it around a bit to the rest of them. And PD may not directly be killing bats. It can kind of eat away at their wing tissues because their wings are very thin and fragile. They're pretty sturdy in the grand scheme of things, but the fungus can eat right through it. And some bats can definitely recover, and we can find bats with scars on their wings from white nose syndrome. Or the fungus will just bother the bat so much that it wakes them up too early from hibernation. And when they get woken up, there's no food or water available. The insects haven't came back. The ponds haven't thawed out. So.
Oh, really? And it's just not so simple that you can't just go back to sleep, I assume.
Yeah. So waking up from hibernation tends to be a huge energy gain because they have to heat themselves up and move their body, basically. And so they use a bit of their fat stores. So yes, they can go back to sleep, but they can only do that so many times. And if this fungus is bothering them to keep them awake or keep waking them up, they don't have enough energy to kind of keep doing that.
Where did this fungus come from?
So it comes from somewhere east, definitely not this continent. So basically it came from bats that already had a bit of this immunity to it. So it actually came to Albany, New York in 2001 was the first time it was detected anyways. And it's basically been coming west ever since. So there's a few different theories on how it came to North America. My favorite is it probably just hitched a ride on a bat in a shipping container, and that bat went into a cave and spread it around to its buddies. And these bats don't have immunity to it, and so they started perishing. And then, of course, it was found in caves that people frequented, because the more that caves are being observed and looked at, the more likely it is that we are going to find this disease, this white nose
Right.
syndrome. Yeah, and then it's just been spread around by either people moving, so either cavers, they're not properly washing their equipment, or because we just didn't know, right? Or just bats moving around, because bats aren't cleaning themselves between roosts.
Exactly.
So they might not even have the white nose syndrome, but they might just be carrying that fungus on them.
Should we be looking forward to something here? Like, is it getting better, or is this just getting worse for the bat populations?
Right now, it's getting worse. There is actually some bat populations. I haven't looked up the statistic, but the bat populations that are hit say they get a 99% drop. The 1% that's left is recovering, albeit very slowly. So maybe they have an immunity built up or some kind of tolerance, or they've already been hit, so they're not going to get hit again.
That would be ideal. The ideal case
Yeah,
there.
but do we want to lose 99% of our bats and wait for them slowly to repopulate when they also have so many other threats to them as well?
Right.
So there are a few things. In 2022, so a few years ago now, the fungus, so PD, was found in Grand Forks in southern BC. We haven't found the white nose syndrome yet, but we found the fungus.
So is it just in BC now, or has it been here for some time?
It was first detected, like PD was first detected in
Right, the
2022.
fungus itself.
Yeah, so we don't have the syndrome yet, but again, is it just a matter of time? Have we just not found it yet? Researchers are looking. We'll swab the boxes. So if we know bats are going to be on bridges or in bat boxes, we'll just do a quick swab, and then you can send it off for testing to see if that fungus is there. But so we haven't seen any bats with it yet. Hopefully we don't. But we'll
Hopefully
see.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we swab bats and roosts in the spring, so after they finish hibernating, to monitor if any bats have white nose syndrome. And the BC Community Bat Program, if anybody in British Columbia finds a dead bat between November and March, we have them send it in to us, and we do complimentary testing to see if the bat did die from white nose syndrome. Yeah, in BC, there is a probiotics project going on. It's a collaboration between a bunch of different organizations. I think it looks quite promising and pretty effective. It does see that it's effective at changing wing microbiomes, and it slows the growth of the PD fungus. Basically, they call it like a yogurt. They use this probiotic blend of naturally occurring microbes that they find in the soil or on bat wings, and they make this cocktail, and they'll apply it to the bat roosts. And so the bats go in the roost, get this probiotic all over themselves, and they spread it to other bats.
Oh, cool.
So hoping to just kind of give them that little bit of extra resistance. Right now they're testing it on roosts.
So I guess us not really knowing where bats roost all the time can be part of the problem here, right? Like, where we don't even know where to apply it.
Yeah. So the BC Community Bat Program, one of the big things we do is ask people, do you have bats in your house? Do you know where bats are? And it's surprising how many people are coexisting with bats. They're like, yep, I've had bats in my house for the last 10 years. I'm like, amazing. Can I please come and look at them? I would love to get a look at your bats. So yeah, big thing the Community Bat Program is doing is asking people to please submit their bat boxes or the bat roosts. Even if people put up a bat box and they don't have any bats, it's still really good data to say, oh, you had this box for, say, 5 years, you didn't have any bats, but all of a sudden you had bats. Why?
Yeah, like, where did they come from?
Exactly. Did they come from one of the other satellite roosts in the area? It's really interesting. I have all these pins on my Google Maps of just the roosts I have in the area, and they are very clustered, especially by the Fraser River. The bats obviously like the river, so they like the houses by the river. So it is very interesting to see.
Should people be worried about coexisting with bats in their house? Is there any problems that come along with that?
There is a little bit. I think most people worry about histoplasmosis. So it's something that you can get from bat feces. We don't have it in BC, but I also say too, bat guano, like anything else, it's that small particulate matter. If you're like sweeping it, you don't want to be breathing in anything small like that anyways. So wear a mask. Beyond that, if the bats are just in the siding on the side of your houses, I don't think they cause much of a problem. They are just doing their thing. They're roosting there. They don't want to bother you. You don't want to bother them. They really don't want to be in your house. When somebody says, hey, I have a bat in my house, that bat does not want to be in there.
No.
It's freaking out. It's saying, where are my buddies? I want to be out of here as quick as I can. So I don't think there's a huge risk of coexisting with bats. But of course, you don't want them in your kitchen or your living space.
Of
but
course
if they're
not.
just in a little side shed, why not?
And with the BC Community Bat Program, these are the counts you do, right? You go to these people's houses and you count the bats that exit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we call it the VC annual bat count. So we are doing this. It's a long-term kind of population monitoring. So every summer we try to do 4 counts, try to do minimum, I guess, of 4 counts per roost. And we don't always get that. So we do 2. But we would do 2 earlier in the summer where the bats have had their babies, but the babies aren't flying yet. So say we count 100 bats, and then we do 2 counts later in the summer, and this is when the babies are flying, and we get, say, 120 bats. So we say, oh, cool, they had 20 babies, like the rough estimate anyways. And then the next summer, 110 come back. Like, okay, cool, there's this increase in population slowly over time. We can see these bats are slowly having babies, all is well. And I do want to note as well, the colonies that we are counting, the bat species we have anyways, are maternity colonies. So it's a bunch of females. So it's a bunch of moms getting together and having their babies. There's a few different reasons for it. Some of it we say is thermoregulation, so it helps them stay a little bit warmer. And some of it is also just safety in numbers. So the moms can go leave for the night, forage, and all the babies are hanging out together in this safe little area. So yeah, all the moms get together, have their babies, and we call it, there's a bunch of different names for it, but like philopatric, natalpatric. So the female babies will actually come back the next year and have their own babies. So it's a bunch of kind of related females. They're not all related, but
Moms
like
and grandmas.
moms,
and everyone
grandmas,
all hanging out.
aunts,
Yeah.
all the bats are coming together to have their babies.
Yeah, but the male pups from that year won't return to that.
No,
roosting
the
spot with them.
males aren't really, the males just kind of do their own thing. They're just focusing all year on finding food, fattening up, and getting ready to get with the ladies in the fall.
Right on.
Yeah.
So there's no like bachelor colonies for male bats or anything?
There are some. I wouldn't say the same. It's definitely not the same amount as the females.
It's not an event like the
No,
females
so
is?
the
Yeah.
female maternity colonies can get up to thousands of bats. With the males, you might find, I don't know, 6, like maybe, probably half a dozen male bats kind of
Oh,
hanging
really?
out
Okay.
together. Usually they're solitary. They don't tend to go together. This isn't, of course, for all bat species. Some females will just roost by themselves. But say our Yuma myotis or our little brown bat, they will actually co-roost together sometimes. And yeah, they are the ones that make these massive colonies, and they actually only have 1 baby a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is the population turnover pretty gradual in a growing population?
Yes, for sure. So a lot of people call bats like little flying mice. I'm like, well, that's not right. It's more accurate to call them tiny flying grizzly bears.
Oh, wow.
So they live a really long time. Bats can live 30 so years, and they have 1 baby a year. So the moms live forever. Not forever, sorry. The moms live a long time, have 1 baby. So if that baby doesn't make it, they don't all make it. Oh, well, that's nature. But yeah, it's a very slow population recovery. So if you cut your bat population from 100 to 50, you only have 50 bats having these babies.
Right.
and-
Recovery is a lot harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not you're breeding like rabbits where you just get a bunch of them.
30 years is incredible for something I could just like hold in one hand.
I
That's
know. I'm
pretty
like, why are there
amazing.
bats out there that are older than me?
Yeah, that's wild. So most only have one baby a year you mentioned.
Yeah.
Do they become sexually mature after 1 year?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah,
Okay.
they will. So when we have them in our hands, we're identifying them. We say it's either like a young of year or a juvenile bat or it's an adult. So we basically can only ID bats up to, the first year. And then when they go and they come back, they look exactly like an adult bat.
Right. Well, I'm sure getting close to 30, they must be looking a little
Yeah, their
worn
teeth
and
kind
torn,
of
yeah.
wear down a little bit. You're like, oh, this one has seen life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I know you touched on it briefly in some of our other topics, but can we talk about some of the conservation work that the BC Bat program is doing?
The annual bat count is probably our biggest conservation. We just do a lot of population monitoring through that. And then we also will do guano collection for species ID. So if somebody's counting their bat house or their building, greenhouse, shed, whatever, and they have guano down there, you can collect it. There's a protocol online. It changes every so often. But basically, you take a little pellet in a cotton ball, stick it in an envelope, and send it to us. Obviously, label it. And this is a free service we offer to people who count their roosts. And we can tell you what bats you have in your roost. So it's really cool to see where the bat populations are. So to have the species ID with these numbers is really awesome. We also have, it's called Got Bats. It's like Got Milk, but Got Bats.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
cute. That's one of our initiatives. And basically we want to increase the number of known roosts in human-made, man-made structures. So in your, again, house, greenhouse, boxes, whatnot. So again, I've had people who are like, yep, I've had bats here for 10 years, but we just didn't know. So it's a lot easier to find bats when somebody just tells you where they are.
Totally,
Instead
yeah.
of looking in the forest and like, I hope there's bats here. Like, I know there are, but where are they?
So are you guys focusing pretty heavy on public awareness to try to like find those people who have bats and
Yeah.
haven't mentioned it yet?
Yeah, I do a lot of like Facebook posts. I'm like, hey, or word of mouth. I talk to people at my gym. I'm like, hey.
Do you have bats?
Yeah. They're like, oh, you study bats? And I'm like, yeah. Do you know somebody with bats? I'm like, I do. I'm like, can you email me? I'm like, I need to write this down.
Has that worked like that? That's pretty amazing.
It has, yeah. Or I have, just random people are like, oh, my neighbor said that they contacted you, and I also have bats. I'm like, perfect. Let's just get a massive group of people.
It's always a good idea to just bring up bats
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your everyday conversation.
And I talk about bats a lot. So I've ended up getting, it's funny because now that everybody knows I like bats, for Christmas every year, I get bat themed things. I have like 3 bat mugs. I have a bunch of bat jewelry. I get like a bat shirt, and I love all of it. I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, you get bats at Halloween, and then a couple months later,
I
you get
know.
bats at
I
Christmas.
love
Yeah.
Halloween because I go and find like, bat napkins or bat like paper plates, or like there's a bowl with bats, or I have dish towels that are bat themed. And yeah, they're the same price as everything else. I was like, it's perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it offensive to say crazy bat lady? Is that?
No, I'll take it. No.
That's awesome.
Who isn't crazy? But yeah, for the people that we find these structures, we really encourage the landowners to keep the bats. If the bats are there, they like being there. So we want to keep them where they're happy. And if people are happy with them, awesome. But if they do want to evict them, we walk people through that process as well, just to make sure it's safely done. Under the Wildlife Act, you cannot evict bats throughout the year. There's only a very specific time period you can to make sure that they are successful in their relocation.
Right. So how does that eviction work? Are you like encouraging them to leave the roost themselves, or are they being physically removed? Or?
So people are like, hey, I want bats out like tomorrow. Like, it is going to take at least a year. So I always try to start with a count. It's really good to know, where are the bats coming in and out of your house? A bat can fit through the size of like a quarter. Like,
wow.
any little holes a bat can get into. So if you don't know where the bats are coming in and out of, then you're kind of just patching things up blindly. So I always recommend to do a few counts during the year. Even if they can take a video, great. So then you can find where they're coming in and out of. And then we also encourage people to put up bat boxes before the bats leave. So we have a bunch of different designs and instructions on how to put bat boxes up. Basically, we're saying, here's a new home, and check it out before you leave.
Right.
So throughout the summer, you find out where the bats are. You put up these new bat houses. Hopefully the bats see it. And then once the bats leave, we call it like a safe exclusion. So it's either like a one-way exit where the bats, it's almost like a cat flap where they can leave, but they can't come back in.
Okay, yeah.
Or we just exclude it completely. And this is when the bats are already gone. So generally that's in the winter months, like November or December. It's a lot safer to do because unless bats are hibernating, but we don't have a lot of bats hibernating in houses all the way up here. So as soon as people can tell for sure the bats are gone, then yeah, they can exclude them. And when the bats come back the next year, they can either go to the bat house or they can find another house. Because if people don't put up bat houses and they don't know where all the spots are. So for one, if you don't know where all the spots are that the bats are coming out of, they will either just find a new spot or they just go into one that you didn't know. And now you got to wait a whole nother year to do it again.
Start the process over.
Exactly.
Yep.
Or if you don't put up extra houses, then they'll just jump to your neighbor's house or they'll jump to your shed or they'll jump to the other side of the house. So putting up this extra habitat for them, or just we call it like replacement habitat. So replacing where they want to live is a really good way to help the bats move over.
I think earlier you mentioned satellite roost.
Yes.
Was it? Is that like when they have multiple locations? in
Yeah.
an area?
So there might be one big nice house that the bats have, but throughout the season they may just jump around. This could be for a variety of reasons. It could be food. It could be sunlight, for example. So say one roost is really, really warm at the beginning of summer, but it's still really, really warm in August. So it's way too warm and the bats need to go a little bit cooler. So places, say, for like a barn, we call it a thermal continuum, where they have a bunch of different temperatures. So you get that Goldilocks that, oh, it's too hot.
Right.
Oh, it's too cold. Oh, this is just right. So it's good for them to be able to move around a little bit because the moms like this very specific temperature where it's not too hot, but it's nice enough where the babies can grow and they're happy.
Right, like a sauna is nice and comfortable when it's cold outside, but when it's hot outside, you don't want to be.
Yeah,
living
you
in a
definitely
sauna.
want like a nice cold pool, or you
Yeah,
open your
exactly.
freezer door or something.
Let's talk about the reputation bats get.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, you mentioned maybe there's some health concerns with bats if they get into your house.
Yeah.
But bats get a bad reputation just for existing.
Yes.
Why?
The biggest thing people, like one sentence to sum up how people think of bats is, oh my gosh, a bat tried to fly into my hair. It's going to suck my blood and give me rabies or COVID, which is very not true. First off, the bat's not going to fly into your hair. Bats, as we talked about, are bats in Canada. They are echolocating. They're looking for their bugs. If they can follow an insect, they can avoid your head.
Right.
So if a bat does, and it does happen for sure, where a bat gets into your hair, but it tends to be that the bat, you ran into the bat. The bat's not trying to get into your hair. It doesn't want to get stuck. It doesn't want to be somewhere it doesn't, like, it's not comfortable for anyone.
Yeah, no, it's not intentional.
So yeah, the bats are definitely not swooping. People are like, oh, it's swooping at me. I'm like, well, no, there's bugs around you, right? Or you're around a fire, but wherever it is, there's mosquitoes around. The bats are actually swooping for the bugs. They're not swooping at you.
They're doing you a favor.
Exactly. And bats in Canada, they're not drinking blood. The only blood-sucking species of bats, so the vampire bats, are in the tropical areas. And they tend to drink from like cows or birds. They don't really drink from people. Like they opportunistically, but
I guess if you're passed out in a field in the middle of the night.
yeah, I'm surrounded by cows. But
Yeah.
people who live there tend to have like protection. They know not to get.
Right. It's not like that
Great.
here in Canada whatsoever. Yeah.
No, you are definitely not going to get any bats sucking your blood. They're definitely not going to be giving you COVID either. Even as bat researchers, we wear masks, but we wear masks to protect the bats, not to protect ourselves from the bats.
So we don't spread like our illnesses to the bats?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Just because it is a disease that potentially came from bats that we don't want to spread. We don't want to risk it.
Right.
Basically, the science isn't there. We don't want to risk it. Better safe than sorry.
They've got a lot of other problems going on. They don't need one extra
Exactly.
thing, yeah.
Exactly. And then people think the bats are going to give you rabies. That's also a huge misnomer. Bats have this really, really bad reputation of being rabies carriers, which they do carry rabies. And I think the reputation comes from the bats. They can carry this disease without showing symptoms. So they're an asymptomatic carrier. So they have it and they can spread it to other bats. But really, though, less than 0.5% of flying bats have rabies.
Oh, really?
They tend to just kind of get sick, act weird, and die. So they're not like your rabid, foaming at the mouth Cujo, like that.
They're not coming after you because they have rabies.
No, they're
Yeah.
really just spreading it to each other. If people do see a bat with rabies in the daytime, it could be like a bat with rabies is going to be looking kind of sick, very weak, flying around in the day. It's very disoriented. And those ones are a lot more likely to be found by people or by a dog or a cat and then be brought inside and then be sent off and then be tested for rabies. Okay. And then, oh, hey, look, now all these bats have rabies. The bats that are being submitted are the ones with rabies, so people think rabies is a lot more prevalent in the populations than it really is.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like every reason people should dislike bats is incorrect.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah, I think bats are very cute and cuddly. I do want to mention, though, if you see a bat, don't ever touch it with your bare hands. Use like a shovel or like if you're desperate, use a dustpan and a broom just in case. I don't touch bats with my bare hands and neither should anybody else. But yeah, bats are a lot better and friendlier than people seem to think. And I do think people are scared of things that go bump in the night. You're scared of the unknown. I am the first to say I'm terrified of the dark. So, which is the worst job for me to be in. If you're ever out bat catching with me, you'll hear me like saying the ABCs backwards, like trying not to think of the dark. And people are just scared of it. And I totally get it. So, and I think bats, since they're at night, you can't see them that much. They're just unknown, that it's a little bit spookier for people.
Yeah, there are a lot of species that need better publicity, like bats or spiders or snakes.
Exactly. Snakes are a big one too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope listening in on this conversation has convinced at least somebody that bats are nice guys and
yes,
not as evil as they seem. So if someone wanted to get more involved with the BC Bat Community Program, what can they do? Where would you send them? I
would send them to the BC Community Bat Program website. I'll give you the link, basically bcbats.ca/get-involved. There's a few things I always tell people. Number one, just learn about bats. You want to be more positive. We want to be champions for the bats. And that can't happen if we don't know anything about them. You can do podcasts just like this one, books, websites, presentations, local events. There's a lot of bat ambassador workshops happening around British Columbia right now. And then once you learn about bats, share what you learned. The positive that, they're not that bad. And once people start sharing what they learn, then more people learn about bats. You can also contact your local BC Community Bat Program Coordinator, so me, in the area, or, the equivalent in your area if you're not in British Columbia. And then, be involved. There's lots of bat counts, bat walks. You can plant bat-friendly gardens. You can construct and put up bat boxes, just a bunch of things to be on the bat side.
No, that's amazing. I'll put a link to that website down in the show notes, and people give that a read and get more involved.
There is so much information.
Well, Tina, I want to thank you for coming and talking to me today. Appreciate it. Tina is coming to us today from the BC Community Bat Program. If you would like to read up more about their program, or if you have bats living in your house and want to conduct a bat count, I've left a link to their website and a way you can contact them down in the show notes below. And if you want to read any more about white nose syndrome and other things that are threatening bats here in Canada, I've also left a few links to some websites you can check out there as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, consider giving it a follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, or wherever you're listening to this episode. And if you don't mind, consider giving it a rating. It helps support the show and it helps others find us. Wilder Insights is produced at the C4 radio station, located right here in Prince George, BC. And if you're in this neck of the woods, you can check out the show every Thursday at 10 a.m. on C4 Radio, 88.7 FM. Our theme music is the song C by the band Funeral Culture. I recommend giving those guys a listen. Wilder Insights is hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Bryden. You can find our socials and email down in the show notes below. If you have any questions or want to suggest a guest for a next episode, shoot me a DM or send me an email. That's the best way to get a hold of me, and I can't wait to hear from you. That's going to be it for today's episode, but remember to get outside, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next episode.